First Class Fishing. Today we're going to be talking about making some bull red rigs, the type of rigs that we use out there on the surf. And what you're going to need to start with are the things that I have in front of us. First of all, I've got a kit by Plano here, and it's one of the waterproof cases. I keep it inside of my tackle box at all times, just in case I need to make another rig while I'm on the beach, in case a fish swallows the hook on me and I need to make something new. Inside of here I got all kinds of swivels. I got different snap swivels so I can hold my weights. I've got 750-pound swivels that I'll use to attach to my main line. Today we're going to be using a 13-aught hook. We've got double barrel clasps. You can find these in the store in various sizes. The key point here is that you make sure that your double barrel fits the line that you get to make your leaders. Today we're going to be using 200-pound leader line for our bull red rigs. You're going to need some beads for some separators, just to separate your weight from sliding over the top of your bar swivel or anything goofy like that. And then you're going to need your clamps or your crimpers. You're going to need a pair of scissors or a knife, anything that you have handy to cut your line. And that's about it. So for the sake of this video, I've already got one of our leaders made up. So this is what you're going to be looking at, basically when you're done. And the type of leader that I have made is a sliding. That way the weight can slide up and down the line freely. And then you got your hook, of course, on the other end. And we just used one of our double barrel clasps to separate it, to stop the weight from going all the way up your line. And basically the reason why we do this is so that your weight hangs down in the sand and your bait can float freely around in the water as the waves are crashing over. So we're not going to need the scissors today. We are going to need our crimps, and I already have everything set out on the table here that we're going to need to make the line. So we can set that pack off to the side. I'm going to set the already made one off to the side and we'll get started. So the first thing you're going to do, you're going to take your leader line, and I cut it to about 4.5 feet, and that's just my preference. Your preference can be something totally different, and you're going to want to mess around with it and play with it and find out really what you're going to want. I prefer 4.5 feet because I can cast it out when I get done. Of course, if you're yakking baits out and whatnot, your story might change a little bit, and my shark rigs will be much different than this, and they'll be much longer, and I'll get into that later on. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to slide one of our double barrel clasps onto our line. Then we're going to slide on our swivel. We're going to feed the line in until it becomes even with the end of that clasp. You don't want any extra hangers out there, anything that's going to get caught on something underneath the water and hang up your line. So that's the reason why we're going to do that. We're going to pull it pretty close to the end of this bar swivel here, but we're going to stop and make sure we got a nice little loop in there on the swivel, because what we don't want to do is kink the line, because then you're going to affect the leader's durability. So you're going to take your crimps. I'm using a 0.5 to 1 millimeter setting to crimp my 200-pound test mono. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to crimp it twice. I like to do one on one end, one on the other. Now, the other thing is with these bar swivels and making sure that they fit your actual line, and you just want to make sure that it's not going to crimp your actual line when you go to do it. And the reason why you don't want to do that is, again, you're going to compromise the durability of your actual line. If you're smashing it in there with a setting on your crimp, that's wrong. You'll smash your line, and then it's basically like cutting it or making an abrasion in it. So you definitely don't want to do that. So now what we got here is we got our swivel that we'll use to attach to our main line. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to slide on a couple of beads. After sliding on a couple beads, we're going to slide on our swivel with clasp. Then we'll slide on the other two beads. Then we're going to slide on one more swivel, or one more clasp rather. Now this clasp is, you're just going to slide the line through once, and the only reason you're going to do that is because the only function that this is going to serve is where you're going to want to stop your weight. Okay, now I like to go and leave a decent sized tail, so I'll just examine while I'm going through until I'm happy with exactly what size tail is going to be floating around out there. To me this looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab my crimps again. I'm going to make sure that I'm using the proper setting so that I'm not smashing my fishing line. And I'm going to crimp it down on one end, and then I'm going to switch to the other side, and I'm going to crimp it down again. Okay. Check it out, make sure it's staying. Now your weight has that much area to move after a fish hits your bait before it actually tightens up on it. Okay, and here's your tail. From this point on, it's going to be able to float in the water. Okay, last thing you're going to do is you're going to slip on this last crimp. You're going to put your hook on, slide the crimp back down, put your line through the other side of the crimp, again coming even with the line, or with the end of the crimp with the line. You don't want to make this loop too big. The bigger the loop, the more chances you have of getting caught on something on the bottom. But you don't want to kink your line. Again, I'm going to take my crimping tool. I'm going to find the appropriate setting. Crimp on one end, slide over the other side, and I'm going to crimp on the other. Always want to test things out. Make sure that it's not going to slide on you. Make sure everything's secure. And there you have it.